Hello, everybody, and welcome back to yet another week of coverage of the Aegis Champions League here on the Salt Mine. My name is Quax, your lovely color caster for the night, and joining me with Slayer still out under the weather this week, it is going to be none other than Salt Mine alumni, the man himself, Miarko. Welcome back, my man. It's been so long since you and I have had the opportunity to cast together, and a lot has changed, and it's awesome to see you back, honestly.
A lot of things have changed, but a lot of things have also stayed the same. Hence, you holding down the fort here at the Salt Line. Super happy to see that all my compatriots are still going strong in this world, forging through, trying to show the best of Tier 2 and Tier 3 esports here for League of Legends in North America. Soon to expand to the whole world, it looks like. I mean, I haven't been paying too much attention to whatever the transition
Yeah.
from LCS into the whole of the Americas is, but that's looking like a wild time. But we also got a wild matchup ahead of us today. I'm
Yes.
usually over on the Gentle Hearts gaming stream, and so luckily I'm at least getting plopped on into a somewhat familiar outing here, as we are going to have GHG facing off against Dorado Gaming White.
Yeah, and we're getting down there in terms of weeks here at the ACL. The playoffs are sort of on the horizon for a lot of these teams. I have a feeling that's kind of in the back of their mind. We got to make sure we increase our standings. And for I would say both of these teams, it's about just getting to the playoffs as well, because it's four teams from each division with a total of, I believe, 16, right? And you've also, I believe, got the play-in stage. So these guys, Gentle Hearts and Dorado, they are around fourth and fifth. They are right next to each other. There is a one-game difference between them in the standings. So they're neck and neck. And I would expect this series here to be the exact same. I expect it to be close. It could be anyone's game. Dorado are slightly ahead. They are currently 3-1, while Gentle Hearts are 2-2. But if there ever was to be an upset, if there ever was going to be a matchup that Gentle Hearts could win when the series or the records are kind of against them, I certainly think it would be this one right here.
I would agree with that. We were talking a little bit before we got onto the broadcast quacks about how DOG so far have had a relatively easy run of it to get to
Yeah.
a 3-1 record, and the loss that is currently on the docket for them is one that frankly shows perhaps a lot of weaknesses coming out of what is otherwise a really strong five-stack roster.
Yeah.
Regardless, they are going to be taking the blue side as we dive into this draft. Starting things off, we got the Volibear, Anivia, and Garen knocked away by DOG. Meanwhile, GHG are going to deny the Udyr and the Skarner alongside an Ash.
And Yone completely left untouched, as well as that Corki. We cannot forget about one of the most powerful champions on 1421. Those are both up and available to first pick, but it's actually looking like Dorado Gaming White, a bit of a different idea, going to sweep across the team. They're going to blind that Cassante. This is kind of a Porsche classic. He really enjoys the Cassante matchups. It's one of the champions he's most well known for. So no surprise to see them snag that one up, but they could be sacrificing some other powerful picks, notably that Aurora, as well as, like we talked about, the Corki, and that looks like it is going to just be instantly locked in, meaning that we might just see Lawrence piloting that Aurora in the top lane. This is something that he is known to do. He's actually really proficient on some of these AP top laners. So I'm excited to see him pilot a character that I think he is more comfortable on than a lot of other top laners.
And meanwhile, DOG is continuing to go for what feels like a 2023 draft at best in terms of picking up the Lucian Nami to go alongside the Cassante. I know you're talking about Porsche's proficiency on this Cassante, but a lot of that history was constructed prior to this rework that in many cases has had
Yes.
people saying, yeah, they've kneecapped this champion. He still has not gotten back up to a 50-50 win rate in ranked, and I'm very interested to see if he could still have an impact in this more coordinated style of play. Now, we are going
Yes.
to leave the support slot hanging for GHG, as instead they're just going to grab that Callista there. And so that probably means that we're going to get a double pinch on that side from DOG, who was already working to deny the Nautilus. Meanwhile, for GHG, knowing that they need some AP pressure on the side of Dorado Gaming White, they are going to knock away Huawei. I was trying to get that
So
pun out there. The Huawei couldn't get there. Sorry.
I mean, many have attempted, but I don't know. I don't know how many have been successful. And it's looking like the Yone going to be taken off the table, as well as the Leona. So bands finishing out here. Gentle Hearts want to get some frontline on this comp. They drafted that Callista last before they went into the bans, and they specifically don't have a tank. They don't really have a champion that is used to being the bulky frontliner. And I would expect that to be the niche that needs to be filled by Nausicaa in this support role. You want a champion that works well with the Callista, but they're going to keep on the marksman train here. This is currently three marksmen being picked up by Gentle Hearts. And I'm actually wondering what Dorado have cooking to go for a counter like this. They don't have a lot of upfront burst to be able to punish how squishy Gentle Hearts comp is at the moment. And I mean, we know that Kachu is actually not too bad on playing some of these more assassin-esque bursty champions in the mid lane. Vi going to be picked up along with the Ahri. I would actually really like this Ahri. I would like the Akali even better. We talked just there about the assassins. I think this is a really good champion to be able to punish the lack of frontline that Gentle Hearts have in this draft and really kind of constructs them into a hole that they are going to struggle to get out of. So I'm interested to see what Gentle Hearts do in response as that's locked in.
This is a very interesting draft. And Quacks, you could say, Yarko, you're no longer with the times. You don't cast League all that much anymore. And I would accept those accusations. This is a dog water game. I don't know why I'm here again. But regardless, fact of the matter is, this feels like two drafts that are kind of based upon personal interest. The Cassante that Lucian Nami stack at the beginning for DOG is being
Yes.
built up, I think, by a really solid core of the Vi and Akali for assassination potential. But I thought GHG could be a little bit more exploitative here. Instead, they're going for a lot of champions that, once again, it feels like they just kind of want to play stacked together. They got the Senna Kalista on the bot side of the map, that Corki and Aurora, and now your main tank is going to be a Mumu. Certainly can work as an engager, but I'm a
Mm-hmm.
little bit afraid for GHG just getting melted. Vi and Akali have so
Yeah.
many viable targets, and Amumu, once he gets into a fight, struggles to get back out to relocate to perhaps help some of these squishy members that are getting dove.
And I agree with your assessment, but I do think that a caveat to that is Dorado's ability to just straight up stick on to the members of Gentle Hearts without the Vi cease and desist. They don't have necessarily a ton of easy access to just go on to these champions and get out at the exact same time. You have to work through the range that Gentle Hearts have drafted for themselves. And there's even a chance that if Vi goes into the backline, dives in, tries to get the kills onto some of these marksmen, then Amumu has the opportunity to bandage toss forward and just stop the rest of Dorado from assisting their Vi, who is now in a position of a 1v4 and just gets bursted down here and there. And the same would probably be said for the Akali as well. I think Kachu, although having a little bit of safety with the Shroud and having a little bit more utility to be, get out of there and potentially delay getting bursted, you have to be wary of being in that same boat as the Vi, because there is a very real chance that you get revealed, you get found out, and you just die before you can even take one with you. So Dorado, while they can get the kills, it's going to be very difficult, I think, for them to actually stick onto these targets as a unit instead of just one member that could potentially see themselves getting caught out if they aren't careful.
Communication and positioning are going to be premiums in
Yep.
these 5v5 team fights, but I also think that a lot of focus has to be put on these individual lanes. Quacks, you were talking about how the top lane for GHG is one of its strongest points, and I would tend to agree with that, particularly given what we're jamming up there, matching up against Porsche on his storied Cassante. This could be where a lot of the game is defined early on.
For sure. I mean, this is a matchup that a lot of people are I would say familiar with. If you are around for the tier 2, tier 3 seed, you know Porsche's story, you know Lawrence's story. These have been top laners that, although they're, I would say a little bit up there in terms of age and experience. I think the latter half of 2024 in particular showed a lot of new talent up in that top lane. Lawrence and Porsche have never really dropped a beat. They have always managed to kind of stay at that consistent level of play. Porsche has always been known to be a very, lane dominant top laner who is able to transition that lead that he gets into something of relevancy later on in the game. Meanwhile, Lawrence is a big team player, right? He was a vital instrument to Blue Water getting that promotion slot in spring. And now we're seeing him with a completely different squad, a completely different meta in the top lane. And we're seeing him still at that level of play. He's also very adept to the meta, right? He's got that Aurora lock-in. This is a man that has his own pocket picks, added one with that, champion, that new release being picked on up. So I really like the story of these top lane matchups. I really like the players individually, and I think a matchup like this has a lot of skill expression in it to really swing either way.
And of course, there's the velocity on the bot lane in particular for DOG. Having that
Yeah.
Lucian Nami lane, that is something you want to get power out of early, matching that with a Kalista who similarly wants to get online and begin to exert themselves across the map pretty quickly. I think that we could get clashes as early as Grubs. So with the Battle Lines draw and Quacks, I think it's about time we throw it over to a quick break. And when we return, we're going to see which of these variables play out and who is going to go up 1-0 in this best of 3 series. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Salt Mine. We are diving into game number 1 between DOG White and GHG. We had a pretty interesting draft phase here. Could be setting up for a little bit of an alley-oop regarding the Fearless draft moving into game number 2. But for right
Mhm.
now, battle lines have been drawn in a pretty interesting way. We got a 4-stack of Red Squad moving through the top side jungle here, looking for, if not a pick, at least a little bit of vision.
And we talked a little bit about it in the draft. Gentle Hearts, very proficient topside, right? You've got big heavy hitters with Lawrence Cross and Drudozer. So them being able to get information on any potential lane swap, any potential pathing from Munchie, going to be very useful later on to just make sure that GHG can play as aggressive as possible, get their strong lanes ahead as early as possible, and really hammer home this game at an early stage to just try and get ahead.
GHD have to be aware that probably one of their other sides is going to be warded here, looking to be bought.
Mhm.
That's going to be Nausicaa and Mikkel. Just crossing over, I think did get caught out by at least a little bit of vision there, but rather foreknowledge that this is probably going to be a topside start for the Amumu anyway, is going to go over to the side of DOG. So going to get an even meeting in all the lanes to start us off. Totally leashless for both of these sides. We're going to see whether or not the Amumu or the Vi is going to get out onto the map first and whether that's going to lead to any action.
Absolutely. Both junglers relatively okay simply farming until level 6. Obviously do have that lockdown on their Qs to just be able to engage a fight and catch members off on a pick if they're out of position. But I expect we'll see a little bit of passivity from the
Oh
junglers, but
my.
maybe not. On this bot side, heal immediately expended there by Snow too, and this is the power of that Callista Senna, that double marksman really laying the hurt on that lone fish.
Let's be honest, that was also just a positional mistake from the side of Snow. Maybe a second one. Chain's going to land. Luckily, this time around, it's going to be Snow making it back towards that tier 1 tower. But that was pretty irresponsible, and now it does feel as if the power share of this Lucian Nami lane is going to drop for
Oh,
at least a little bit. We got another pause, hopefully not more of a tech issue. So far in this series, Nausicaa's had a few issues regarding connectivity, which is why we took an extended break after that draft phase.
yep.
Hopefully, we're going to be up in no time.
Up in no time. And, one thing to note as we are going to be talking about the pause, and it just turns into an unpause, is that those Raptors were actually skipped by Munchie. He went straight for the red buff, dodged the ward out, and now I think Cross, suspecting where this Vi is going to try to spot her out and prevent any sort of aggressive plays coming out from Dorado Gaming White on this bot side.
Cross not going to be able to say steal away camp or anything like that, but certainly has presence on the bot side that you can't really see being brought back over to DOG White in as much as right now Draxler and Snow are just going to be pushed in for a while. That summoner spell missing is a crucial hole in the game plan, and I don't think that right now it's going to be Munchie
Cross.
forcing anything. They don't have the ability to go for an ult this early into the game. That being said, Cross is massively overstaying and will be found out here by Munchie. Amumu barely getting to safety here. Nausicaa able to hold on to the heal, but just barely.
Survives by the skin of his teeth. Cross anticipating that Munchie would try to look for something on the bot side, but he oversteps his bounds. He gets knocked into the bot lane of Dorado Gaming White, and the wave wasn't quite under the tower, meaning that they could go for that aggressive play without sacrificing any minions in return. And it means that Cross will not have that flash, but I wouldn't be too concerned if I'm this Amumu. Again, we're really looking at that level 6 to be the moment where both of these junglers get out onto the map, and for the time being, they're just looking to farm up as much as possible. And in that department, it is actually Munchie that is currently ahead. He got the reset off. You can see Cross is still on his top side, has not gone for the reset, so we'll be behind in tempo a little bit, and by extension, that level 6 power spike.
At the same time, for the investment that was given by the Amumu, I don't think that this is the worst case scenario, especially as each of your individual lanes is faring pretty well. Drew has to be careful of this Akali poke, of course, but if you look at top side, right now it's Lawrencey just getting the better of Porsche in trade after trade, forcing the teleport out of the Cassante early. So this is going to be a tempo swing that's really favoring the side of the map that we said is going to be a focal point for much of this matchup.
And it is a really good wave state for Lawrence as well. You can see the wave is kind of pushing in, meaning Porsche has to walk on up, and he doesn't have that teleport as we go through a pause, and it looks like we are just going to resume right out of the gate. So Not going to be paused for too long, but this current wave state for this Aurora is actually really good. You have the ability to free poke this Cassante, and he doesn't really have a way to respond. He can't go for a recall because, like you said, Nyarko, he used that teleport, so it just means, for the time being, this Aurora gonna get a lot of minions and a lot of harass down on this lone Cassante.
And meanwhile, bot lane is still going the direction of GHG as well, at least in regards to the pure 2v2. Now, when the Vi gets involved, things can be changed up quite a bit. And in fact, Munchie is here going the long way around. Mikkel gonna be in a lot of trouble, has to burn both of their summoner spells. Nazca might not still get out of this one. Another projectile gonna go.
Oh, Mikkel!
Walk it back, and so once again overextends on the further trade, and so that is going to be, in fact, first blood picked up there by Mikkel. And I'm really starting to think that this Nami is becoming a real pain for DOG to stabilize.
And I mean, but what a good play there from Mikkel, knowing the limits of the Kalista, goes in 2v3 unafraid after burning both summoner spells, sends Dorado Gaming White packing with their tail between their legs, and the CS difference alone in this bot lane with this Kalista versus this Lucian was bad enough. Add a kill onto that, and you've got a beautiful bot lane state here for Gentle Hearts, and now it's looking like Cross on the other side, knowing where Munchie is just gonna take these grubs, and with the prio he has on the side lanes, there won't be a contest possible.
This is everything GHG wanted out of the early game for sure. Cross not having to expend any more resources on the bot lane in order to pay back what had happened earlier. Now you're in a position where this Kalista is going to be able to serve the jungle rather than the other way around, and Munchie comes out of that play. Now losing tempo is actually going to be down in CS comparative to Cross, and at this point in the game, you kind of have to try to make something work across the map to get value back to your side. In fact, Munchie is going to walk back down here, gets spotted out by Mikkel's drone. Meanwhile, mid lane, though, Drew is going to get popped here in the 1v1 versus the Akali, but now the question is, can Blue Squad make even more of it off this dive? Nazca has Flash still available, able to get under the tower. Bubble is going to land. This is a lot of damage on all three members of Blue Squad. A huge wave has coalesced upon them. They're just going to have to make their way out through the tri-bush.
And it's another attempt trying to punish this bot lane from Munchie, and it goes awry. None of them die in the exchange this time around, so both of these teams just going to walk away with a little bit of blood, sweat, and tears on their jackets, on their tunics, or whatever, but yeah, no big advantage for either team. The thing I would say that Gentle Hearts get from not dying there is they deny the dragon, they deny the tempo of Munchie being able to take control of this bot side. So those grubs still going unpunished. Usually you like to see those objectives traded, but there is no trade this time around, and it means Gentle Hearts can go for aggressive plays like this.
Another bandage touch charge going to be used. Ultimate dropped on top of Snow in order to pick up another kill and a massive swing in favor of GHG. Dragon still available. This should be a rotate up. As long as top side of the map things stay stable, Lawrence just going to be able to teleport using that Aurora ultimate to its full potential in order to get out of a sticky situation. Mid lane, once again, we are seeing control of the wave brought over to Kachi.
Whoa!
Managed to pick up that kill. Top side, though, I don't know what in the world just happened, but out of nowhere, what I was just praising Lawrence for in regards to positioning falls apart, and that is going to be a kill picked up by the Cassante, and so GHG are certainly not out of the woods yet, even as they do pick up this dragon.
Well done there by Porsche. I mean, Lawrence had to expend that ultimate, did the alley-oop, but didn't have that for dueling, and now Drew, knowing that that all-out isn't available anymore, the flash also not up, this might just be a free kill for the Corki.
This is a lot of effort the Corki's going to have to put in early. Luckily, he has the Valkyrie available, and this should be a killing blow. Great rotation here by Drew, and this is coming in on a character who really likes this little injection of gold to scale. I really thought they were going to be behind for a lot longer, given what happened mid lane, but now they're able to turn things back around. The problem is that Cross is in a lot of trouble. Senna ultimate is going to buy them a little bit of time here, but Draxler is ultimately going to be able to pick up the kill, and now it's Aurora stuck in a 2v1. Akali is worryingly low in this situation, but Munchie is going to come through it, ensure that the Aurora can't forge forward, and Mikkel is also just going to have to disengage from the other side of the fight.
Mikkel manages to get some damage back on to Snow 2, but for the time being, that is a really good play there from Dorado Gaming White, and we're seeing now how committed this squad is to the game plan of just getting this bot lane behind. They're sending Munchie, they're now sending Kachu. They want to make sure that Mikkel is far behind as possible in this laning phase, and here they go again. is going to be an ultimate expended by Mikkel on the other side. So it is another attempt by Dorado Gaming White to go for this play. And it just keeps turning into Gentle Hearts being able to thwart all of those plans and getting a tempo advantage because of it. I think this tempo advantage really going to start to come to fruition around the second spawn of Grubs if Gentle Hearts can turn around this tempo that has developed and been an advantage for Dorado Gaming White for the time being. As it's looking like we got Niarco, who unfortunately lost power for the time being. So I am going to be going for a bit of a solo cast, ladies and gentlemen. You'll get to hear my play-by-play as well. Cross going to go for these Grubs. This is going to be 4, so the mites are unlocked. And I mean, based on the positioning of Dorado Gaming White, it's not looking like they're going for a contest. They're just looking to hammer home on this bot lane, get some turret plate gold into the pockets of Drexer and Snow too. So it is an advantage for Gentle Hearts, but it's not without its drawbacks, as Dorado Gaming White keep on playing the cross map very, very well, despite being behind in a lot of these advantages and a lot of these trades. Now, Porsche, this is a dangerous dive to go for. Cassante, this is a champion you can't dive, and we're seeing why he uses the all-out, but it's going to have to be Lawrence responding with his own. They managed to get the Cassante off the tower, and that's going to result in first tower gold going over to Gentle Hearts, but it isn't without its trades. You can see Drexer and Snow, they want their own, but here is Drew to try and intercept. He's going in for the 1v2. Ultimate from Senna gets expended. Drexer trying to peel back, will manage to survive, and it's action across the board, and it's not going to stop here. Cross has found himself a little bit of the munchies, but it's Kachu in the back line. He wants Mikkel. He uses the flash. He uses the perfect execution. He gets himself a kill, and now it is going to be Nausicaa found in a 1v2 situation, and a double kill going over to Kachu. A big fight win for Dorado Gaming White when they need it most.
Yeah, this is not what I was expecting to see as I got back in here, Quacks. I don't know exactly how that fight started, but certainly I saw how it ended. Dorado Gaming White in a fantastic position coming out of that fight, getting this Akali not online, but in fact further beyond that, to the point where they are now the dominant force in this game for the blue squad side. Gold gap still hasn't been completely closed here. There are multiple killers available on the side of GHG to leverage that into a one team fight in the future, but the extent to which that is possible early on in this game to put this one away quickly is now closing.
For sure, and Gentle Hearts have to start thinking about playing a little bit defensively on these plays. For the most part, you know, they have been the ones who are able to kind of resist the burst, resist the attempts from Dorado Gaming White on a lot of these bot dives. But now you're staring down the barrel at a 3-0 Akali, Storm Surge complete, Sork shoes in inventory. This is a very real threat that we talked about in the draft that, if put ahead and relevant, you know, post 15 minutes, could be a major point of pain for Gentle Hearts later down line, just because of how squishy this comp is.
Yeah, we talked about it before. There's basically nobody except for the Amumu that the Akali doesn't want to hit, that they don't see as a means by which to engage upon GHG. And so now, given the fact that we're only about 700 gold away from a perfectly even game, Dorado Gaming White has the ability to take fights as they please if they think that there's a vulnerability from GHG in regards to position, or somebody being taken low by a poke game coming out of, say, something like the Lucian. Those are all going to be dynamics at hand here, as we are going to see second Dragon started up by Red Squad once again. The question is Dorado Gaming White going to try to contest? It looks like, given how low it is, there's going to be no answer. Right now, Value instead going to try to be had through pushing it down multiple lanes. This is all for mid lane. Forced up in the start of a fight. Cross trying to work forward, gets the ultimate up. Munchie picked up early in this one, but the all-out has been activated. Unfortunately, it's all on top of the Amumu, and this is leaving the squishy backline open. 4 members all trying to wear down this Akali, but Draxter is finally going to land a killing blow against the Amumu, and things are going to stand at a 1-for-1.
It's going to be a 1-for-1 fight. Well played there by Gentle Hearts to be able to burst down Munchie, but they lose their jungle in return, and they also get themselves a second dragon, though. Objectives still very much in favor here for Gentle Hearts. I'm curious to see how they're going to use those. Kachu now going in for the kill.
Going to try to force them in. Great ultimate coming out of Mikel, and they're also going to drop the damage on top of it. This is a perfect way to bring things right back, as that is a core member of Dorado Gaming gone, and they're looking for even more. Drax are in a lot of trouble. Here comes the force from Munchie the Monster, trying to split these two. Will be able to pick up Mikel, but here comes the Aurora on the backline. Lawrence looking for blood. Drew gonna follow through and blow up Snow too, and now with the blast plant being used, Munchie's in a lot of trouble, trying to find the fadeaway kill, but it's in fact just going to be a double-double for Drew, and on top of that, Rift Herald is open for the taking.
And what a big fight win there for Gentle Hearts. I gotta highlight Mikel saves his support and gets the shutdown all in one fell swoop. And that opens them up to go aggressive. They go a little too far. So it is a few return kills for Dorado Gaming White. But Gentle Hearts getting Drexler so low. Drew, the damage on this Corki now 4-1. Another rocket's going to land. One more of those, and Drexler is out for the count. But Drew, low on mana, and we're starting to see the win cons, these marksmen all for Gentle Hearts Gaming really come into their own, really come to fruition. This win con, despite, you know, like we said, staring down the barrel of a fed Akali, they are ready to take the bullet, Nidarko.
Absolutely. Great stuff coming out of GHC, rotating aggro during that fight, understanding the limits of these players, and coordinating as well. I was surprised to see the Aurora show up on the back line and all of a sudden turn things on its head. That really demonstrates the extent to which GHC are confident in going deep and fighting it out. That, given the fact that they are ahead, I think is a recipe for success, because at this point in time, you have done all you needed to do to fulfill the win conditions that your composition wants. Mikel did in fact get ahead from this early game, is in a great position up against Draxler, who on the solution is still strong in his own right, but now it just feels like there's no leverage by which Dorado Gaming White can get in and make the most of the situation for their AD carry.
For sure, and they are going to have to look for something on the board to be able to force Gentle Hearts' hand. And I'm looking at that Herald to be that thing. You can see vision across the board, kind of sporadically placed by both teams, so they will both know if this Herald gets started up. But realistically, if you're Dorado Gaming White, you have to realize that you're eventually going to get outscaled. You are against 3 marksmen and an Aurora. This is not a comp you want to have to deal with later on without any of those late game conditions, namely the Dragon, the Herald. Anything you can get your hands on, you have got to try to reach for at this point in the game, because Gentle Hearts are very far ahead as Drew going in for the 1v1!
Oh my god. I'll be honest, I don't exactly know what Pachu was going for in that situation. You are dying one way or the other. It is a gamble whether or not you pick up the kill, and in this case, it is going to be a fight initiated by Dorado Gaming White, going in favor of the champion that frankly outscales in this situation, and now they gotta try to make something on the top side of the map, but Aurora has the ultimate still available under the tower, flashes away, multiple pieces of offense engaged by Dorado Gaming White, and they will find nothing with 4 people on the top side, and here comes the cavalry. There's no tier 1 available. They need to try to reset in time, but Aurora will deny that opportunity. Lawrence may just sacrifice himself in order to get the dream team fight, and here comes Nausicaa with the alley-oop to keep the top laner alive, and with the double bubble, we are going to see the re-engage. Akali back up for this fight, but Cross blows them up in an instant, and somehow Lawrence stays up. Munchie the Monster is gone, and Drew is dominating, as that is going to be a near full-on ace, and Portia will be the last piece.
It's an ace for Gentle Hearts Gaming, and it is such a dominating fight win for them. Lawrence stalling out all the members of Dorado Gaming White for as long as he can. Nausicaa, the savior of Gentle Hearts, keeps his top laner alive. They pick off all the low health targets, some a little bit more pesky than others. I'm looking at you, Porsche. She tries to speed on away, but you cannot stop the love. You cannot stop the rage. And it's looking like Gentle Hearts, a perfect blend of both, are taking this game by storm.
This is a rough position to be in. Only 19 minutes into game 1 of a best-of-3 series. Dorado Gaming White has had a lot of accusations levied at them throughout this Aegis run so far, that they haven't really fought anybody who can operate at their level. When they have lost, it is to people who should have been far below them, and that could be the case yet again as Gentle Hearts Gaming comes in as the underdogs. It looks like the saving grace for the side of Gentle Hearts Gaming is also they have gotten their connections under control. It looks like now the issue is transposing over to the other support in the form of Snow too.
And I mean, the same could be said about Gentle Hearts, because this is a squad that 2 of their losses have been against, some of the better teams in the league. Namely, they've gone against Guangdong and they've gone against AoE. Those are their 2 losses, and those are some of the best teams in Piltover. So it's not only kind of, proving that for Dorado, it's not only proving that they're a team that should be at the top of the table, that their 3-1 record isn't fraudulent, but it's also going to be Gentle Hearts kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum, proving that they are a top team. Those losses were against some of the best, and they can operate against some of the best in Piltover's division.
7,000 gold lead, 3 dragons to 0, and now the Baron Nashor is available. DOG make another slip up, and this game will be over in an eye blink. Now the question is, are GHG going to maybe put on a little too thick, maybe overextend? That is an issue that I've seen in past games of theirs. So far, they seem to be playing pretty stable, very respectfully. This is a big investment on the bot side. 3 people here, by the way.
Yeah, look at the Baron. It's started available.
And so that is going to be something started up by Gentle Hearts Gaming. Lawrence gonna try to get out of the situation, will die to the Akali. I think that the Senna ultimate also coming from that angle indicates that this Baron Nashor is going over to Gentle Hearts Gaming. But there's nothing that DOG can do, and I frankly don't think that this investment bot is necessarily worth it, because the tower taking potential for a team with so many strong siege-oriented champions is already immense, and now it is getting doubled.
This is exactly where the range factor of Gentle Hearts Gaming's comp comes into play. Like you mentioned, Nyarko, the siege is going to be brutal. We said a little bit about this in the draft, but Dorado Gaming White, they don't have a ton of range, right? Their range champions, namely the Lucian, are notorious for being, some of the more, short range 80 carries. So they're going to have to commit. They're going to have to engage onto Gentle Hearts. But we've seen that song and dance so many times in this game, where Dorado Gaming White think they have an angle, they think they have a pick, they think they have a way into a fight, and then Gentle Hearts go for an alley-oop, whether it be Lawrence, whether it be Mikkel or Nausicaa. They always managed to get out or stall the fight, and it has resulted in them being able to punch back in every exchange. And we got another exchange coming in here. Drew taking a little bit of damage, but Porsche taking a lot more. Look at the range. Look at the damage this Corki is doing, Yarko.
Especially without really any vision of the Amumu, I don't think that Dorado Gaming White can overinvest and look for a pick in what was at that time a 2v2. Munchie's now coming on in, trying to get these waves shoved out. Drew may have overextended the topside river. Porsche in that 1v1 should be able to take down this
guys, look at the bot lane.
But while this is all happening, bot lane is getting absolutely obliterated.
What?
There's a whole wave at their back. I'm not exactly sure what the call was, but regardless,
they stopped the backs.
Calling isn't going to be enough. And you're right, they stopped the backs. Corki is dead, but it may not matter. Ult under the tower. Are they going to end it at 22 minutes, Quacks? As we do finally see the Lawrence go down. It's going to be a 3v5. Cross is too far forward. Is going to get picked off here. But they take an inhibitor. They take a Nexus turret. In fact, they may still be able to turn it around. Mikkel navigating the far side of this fight. Nausicaa trying to back up. Two people back. Mikkel still picks up a kill. Is fighting inside of the base, trying to cut out Forge. The Akali is too low to fight the AK. Here comes the season, and this finally the shutdown comes through, but it feels like it's too little, too late.
And you have to call the cop herself in order to stop the speedy Callista that is Mikkel. This man is going for hit and run after hit and run. This man, he's going to start doing 30 years to life for crimes like that. And it is going to be Dorado Gaming White who managed for the time being to temper the end of the game, to stall out their situation for just a little bit longer. But Nyarko, their situation looking very dire. 23, almost 24 minutes into the game, and it feels like Gentle Hearts, one more win, one more advantage, and they can take this one.
Yeah, I mean, notably, the gold gap has shrunk a little bit, as that was ultimately an ace coming through for Dorado Gaming White. But the map presence that is now available for GHG to just rush down this dragon and get another huge boost, their already immense damage, I think, is going to put this game away regardless of what is happening in regards to itemization. Unfortunately, it just feels like Dorado Gaming White now had their best chances when they were death falling and sending multiple people to take down 1 or 2 members of GHG. Now you don't have that opportunity because somebody has to play base guardian duty. I mean, you got one Nexus turret
Yeah.
left. Any empowered minion waves going that way, if we see even say another Baron coming up, will be the end of the road. Finally, tier 1 topside is going to go down with the work of Draxter here, but I don't think that that's enough. And now you got the full Goon squad in the mid lane. How are you going to answer back and defend this tier 2?
That certainly is the question. Baron buff notably removed with that ace coming in from Dorado Gaming White. So it is a little bit easier for them to clear out these waves. But now you have to deal with the Infernal Soul against a poke comp. And this is arguably the best soul to have for a comp like this. It just means that Gentle Hearts Gaming are going to pack that much extra of a punch. The siege is going to be that much more costly in health for Dorado Gaming White to contest. You add on the grubs, and it's just such a dire situation. And it feels like how we got here was just Dorado Gaming White overforcing too many times. They were looking so many times to put Mikkel down, to put Nausicaa down, and every time it was responded back beautifully from the bot lane of Gentle Hearts Gaming. And eventually, Dorado Gaming White, they just dug themselves a hole that they could not get out of. They're still struggling to get out of it. And finally, I think it's going to be a burial site at the end of all of this.
Honestly, could end right now if Cross gets a good engage. It looks like with everybody clutching under the tower, he is going to pull the trigger. 3 people stunned up. Even if the Mumu goes down, everybody on the back line has their heads held high. Akali trying to stay in the shroud, trying to find a new angle in with a perfect execution, but they are going to get melted. And that is, in fact, game number 1 brought to an end by Gentle Hearts Gaming in just 26 minutes.
And Gentle Hearts with a dominating performance in game number 1. We saw the comp come to full fruition there in that last fight. Cross, he gives his life on over, but the rest of Gentle Hearts, they thrive, they dive, they go on in, and they are going to take game number 1. And what an exciting way to kick off this series. Gentle Hearts came here to play, and boy, oh boy, did they play some League of Legends, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Gentle Hearts Gaming showed their strengths in this situation, but honestly, I think that in many of these cases, at least to start getting the ball rolling in their favor, it wasn't even about them being a particularly capable team. It was about the extent to which Dorado Gaming White just time and time again over pushed. And that isn't necessarily just in regards to wave states or in regards to tower dives. It is in their whole philosophy. They were committed to taking down specific key members of GHG, damn the torpedoes, and forget about all else. And that unfortunately just didn't pay off. Yeah. Drew was able to stabilize in multiple fights, including that one crazy dive under the tier 2 that we saw forced by Kachu. I don't know what the thought process was on that point. And while that was happening, right, we're seeing GHG play for the objectives across the map. That was an uncontested Baron taken basically at spawn because Dorado Gaming White was still trying to push down bot side with 4 people.
I think overcommitting was kind of the sin of Dorado Gaming White for sure throughout this game, right? They went through for these plays and they just didn't really know when to quit, right? They didn't want to quit until they got the job done. And sometimes, I mean, you managed to kill a member, you managed to get something on the board, but it was Gentle Hearts that responded on the other side of the map. They took not 1, but not 2, but maybe 3 things off the board in response. So every single time it was Dorado Gaming White saying, I can do this. And Gentle Hearts responding with, but I can do it better. And do it better, they certainly did. Very good game number 1. The only real slip up I would say was that 3-0 Akali at that point. But that, like you said, unnecessary tower dive from Kachu, just the overextension, the overforce really made them pay. And they were never able to get out of that debt. They were never able to get out of that hole. And the hole caved down in them at the end.
Absolutely. Dorado Gaming White, I think, need to go back to the drawing board. The value in fearless drafts for teams who find themselves in this kind of weird position is that in many cases, you're kind of compelled to now draft a completely different team identity and style, just due to the fact that maybe some of your favorite champions for, say, pick-oriented compositions or dive-oriented compositions are no longer on the table. And so I think that they will be forced to reflect upon their mistakes from that game number 1, perhaps bring us a more competitive second round. But what a way to catch back up on our schedule, Quacks. I was afraid with those pauses there. We had a few disconnects early, but it didn't matter at the end of the day. That was GHG bringing us home, bringing us back to the schedule. And I think we should probably keep on that. So we're going to throw it over to a quick break. When we return, it's going to be for the second draft of the night.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Salt Mines coverage of the ACL. Game number 2 now between Dorado Gaming White and Gentle Hearts Gaming. Swapping sides here in the second matchup. And what if game 1 to start us off in Nyarko? Gentle Hearts responding with everything that Dorado Gaming White had to throw at them, and throwing back a whole of a hell lot more in the faces of Dorado Gaming White as well, which resulted in them taking the win. Big shout outs to Mikhail in particular on that Callista, turning so many attempts of aggression by Dorado Gaming White on their head and just completely reversing their game plan right from the get-go. And we're firing through draft already. Ash going to be immediately picked up, and I have a feeling Dorado Gaming White have something up their sleeves, notably that Yone is unbanned, Nyarko.
It is interesting to see such a radical change. Obviously, you can't pick Callista again due to the fearless draft, but simultaneously, the fact that Ashe is just so different and you don't get the same kind of crazy outplay potential on this champion as you would makes me think that this is going to be a radically different view of Gentle Hearts gaming. Now, the Jin is going to be the response here from Dorado Gaming White, so that Yone is still very much a question hanging in the air here, but I feel like there's a chance that they are going to either round out their supports or instead
Ooh.
pick their jungler in the form of the Sejuani.
And I mean, that's a jungler that's really good with the Yone. So now I'm interested to see if Gentle Hearts maybe counterpick with a jungler for themselves. They've got a lot of options open and available. The Amumu was the one that was taken off the board along with the Vive. They want to go something like a Viego. That is very possible. But they are, yeah, probably just going to steal up that Yone because it's a great pairing with the Sejuani. It's also just a great blind in general. And we've seen in the past that Lawrence is perfectly fine playing, off meta, sort of untraditional top laners. So this could very well be a flex for the side of Gentle Hearts. That's going to get locked on up right away. I think Viego could be a really good response here. I think maybe Zinzao could be a really good response here. If you want some AP, I think Lilia is also an option. Something that just provides some damage and some utility because you've already got a lot of utility with the Ashe. So being able to round it out with something else would be very valuable. And it's going to be the Jarvan slammed to end it all off.
This is leaving a lot of questions in the air for GHD's side in regards to where they're going to get magic damage from and what they are going to be
Oh.
doing with this Yone either to the top or the mid lane. Now, the response from DOG is going to be picking up the Sylas, which makes a lot of sense given that you have the Jarvan and the Yone both available. Sylas
Mhm.
benefits really nicely from either of those ultimates, and this is also going to kind of be a virtual ban for some of the stuff that GHG could have pulled out here. Now, we are moving into the second ban phase. Braum going to be the immediate denial coming out of the side of Dorado Gaming White. Now, what is the follow through going to be as GHG now considers their first set of bans?
I also, to add to the Silas pick real quick, this is a catchy special, kind of, right? He is known
Mm.
for playing things like the Silas, so they're kind of going back to the drawing board, something that you said they needed to do after game number 1, Niarki. You said they need to reevaluate their game plan, and it seems like they're doing just that. They're going in, flexing into comfort, and it's exemplified there by the Silas lock-in. So now for the time being, I think both of these teams are perfectly comfortable just banning out these supports. I like that you mentioned the Silas is kind of a virtual ban as well. It basically means that Gentle Hearts can't lock in things like the Alistar without giving away that unbreakable to the Silas, something that they definitely don't want to do. So that is, I think, a really good call out. Now, the support option, gonna be interested to see what it is. I think maybe a Poppy is possible here if you want to deny the amount of mobility from the Jarvan and the Yone. That is a very prevalent champion in the current meta and also flexes really nicely with the amount of engage you have from Sylas and Sejuani. Also helps out Sejuani because you have another melee champion added onto your roster, but they're actually just going to steal the Alistar themselves for the time around. I honestly feel like Gentle Hearts could themselves go for the Poppy. This is still a really good champion for both comps, I think.
I would agree with that. I really like the potential for the Poppy pickup here on this side, but the Bard Hover instead going to come out from
Ooh.
GHG. This is always a pick that is going to be able to provide value if you are good at the champion. Hopefully, Nazca will
Yes.
be able to bring it to the table because it is either going to be completely useless or something that we are raving about for, well, what would be a very short series because actually GHG, if they're winning off the Bard, would be winning this best of 3. Rumble going to be the final pick. I like this call. That means the Yone is most likely going into the mid lane.
Yep, so the Yone going to go into the mid lane. There might be possibility for something like, honestly, like an Olaf here for Porsche. I feel like that's a little bit of a gung-ho sort of, throw it to the wind kind of champion. But It is a possibility, but they're actually going to index into the Jack. So side lane threat just became a lot more real for the side of Dorado Gaming White. That 4-1 split going to be something they're most likely going to play for. But I'm looking at the Dorado Gaming White squad and I'm thinking there are a lot of champions. That's 3 melee champions paired up with a Sejuani. So you can get that CC train going and chugging along here in this game. So I want to see a lot of action, a lot of proactivity here from Munchie in game number 2. That's something that we saw in game number 1, but as evident by the score, it essentially led to their downfall more than helping them out. It felt like every single time Munchie was in any kind of a lane, it turned on its head and completely blew up in their face. So I think a champion like Sejuani pairing it up with more champions that are, well versed to play with it is a much better look than just slamming something like the Vi without necessarily having the pieces to move around with it. So I think this is a much better draft from Dorado Gaming White here in game number 2 than what we saw in game number 1. Gentle Hearts, though, this is a tried and true front to back. This is what Dorado Gaming White were hoping to accomplish in game number 1 that Gentle Hearts have picked on up. And the big X factor that I'm looking at is going to be that Bard. How Nausicaa performs around these lanes, how he roams with this Bard, if leaving Mikhail on an island might be a detriment more than a success at the end of the day, given how impactful Mikhail was in game number 1, or if they can start to hand the ball over to these solo laners, which I'm hoping that's going to be what their comp is designed to do.
Absolutely. I think that this is a very easy to execute composition for GHG for the
Yes.
most part, is the thing. Because some of these individual champions have really high skill ceilings. I'm really looking at this Bard as being a very crucial player that can turn a fight on its head with that Temper Fate ultimate. Meanwhile, on the side of DOG, while maybe as an identity, as a 5 stack, it's a little bit more up in the air as to exactly how you have to approach these fights. Fact of the matter is, you got a lot of champions that bring a lot of immense value to the table just based upon clicking the buttons in the kit and hoping to go to town. Alistar
Mhm.
Sejuani going to be leading that charge for sure.
Alistair Sejuani going to be leading it, but it's going to have to be the Jackson, the Jin that finish that charge, the one that end the battle. And so I'm looking at Porsche yet again. I mean, we talked about the importance of that top lane matchup in game number 1. We didn't get to see a lot of it. Again, a lot of that importance was held on the bot lane. I think there's going to be a lot more emphasis on the top side objective. We didn't really see Dorado Gaming White fight for those grubs whatsoever. I think that's going to change here in game number 2. They want those grubs. They want Jax to have that side lane presence. If it doesn't have that side lane presence going out of 14 minutes, or hell, even just a Herald would be nice. If it's got none of that, they are going to be in a very, very tough spot, I feel, because Gentle Hearts Gaming, you give that side lane pressure and you give that side lane threat over to champions like Yone, who can farm safely with things like their Soul Unbound. And you're looking at gold into some of the members that hyper scale into this game. You do not want that gold going over to Yone. You don't want that objective going over to Yone. You're going to have to fight tooth and nail for these objectives in game number 2. You cannot sit passively on the sidelines like you did in game number 1.
Absolutely the case. Well, I'm very happy that we are getting a different look out of both of these teams moving on into the second round here. This is the chance for Dorado Gaming White to prove the doubters wrong and really right the course of a series that so far has been all GHG all the time outside of a single team fight that I wasn't even there for. So in my eyes, I'm going to say that the team that, has supported me for a while now, getting back into the league scene, currently is
Yep.
in a position to take this. We're going to see whether or not Dorado Gaming White, though, can turn that around. We're going to throw it over to a quick break. When we return, it's going to be for game number 2. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Salt Mine as we are looking at game number 2 here in Aegis between GHG and Dorado Gaming Light. So far, this best of 3 is going the way of what is now Blue Squad. But I gotta say, the new draft composition coming out of GHG, I think is a little bit more evenly matched to what Dorado Gaming White is doing this time around, especially in regards to this being a more constant set of value rather than needing a bunch of accelerants in game number 1 that they were provided in kind by DOG. We could be in for a long one, or at least a very dramatic one, Quacks.
It is definitely a different look from both of these teams. I think Dorado Gaming White really trying to index into some of those preference picks, most notably Kachu on that Silas. Really interested to see how this mid lane matchup goes, because I think the solo lanes, we had a lot of emphasis on the bot lane in game number 1. Now I think it's kind of turning up toward that top side, something that we have highlighted Gentle Hearts are very strong in. That top side really is the big point of power for this roster. And now with a comp that more accurately reflects that, I think we could see this game potentially be just as dominant as it was in game number 1. But Dorado Gaming White also playing to their strengths, right? Like we mentioned, some of the picks in their solo lanes are very strong. So both of these teams with a different look, but definitely playing to their strengths at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Well, currently, we started off with the same kind of deep shove by the side of GHG to get vision, and we see those wards being dropped all across the top side jungle. It's going to be opposite side start here for both of these teams on that front, and I think that right now what I'm looking for is Cross having the potential to work as a very belligerent engager a bit before Munchie can. And given that one of the risky things that we saw at GHG was an Amumu popping up in lanes and sometimes getting walked right over by Munchie and company, that could turn around a little bit here. We could actually see Cross on this champion doing a bit more with the champion he's picked.
For sure. I think Cross definitely has an opportunity to be a bit more active pre-6 with this Jarvan pick. We kind of saw him try that a bit in game number 1, but he immediately got his flash burned. He was very heavily punished for that overextension in the early levels. Now, though, Jarvan is a champion that wants to get on the board early.
This is big shove down to the bot side of the map. Mikhail doing a great job controlling the pace of this lane, and so far, Nausicaa is not showing any reasons as to why I should be worried about this Bard pick. In fact, now it is going to be Snow 2 stuck under the tower solo as Cross is looking to snack upon an ADC. Back will be had in time, so now it's a 3v1
Drexer
tower
has
dive against
TP,
the
though.
No flash available for this Alistar, but like you're talking about here, there are teleports available for Dorado Gaming White to try to stabilize this. Draxer picking that summoner spell up. That's something you're seeing a little bit more commonly now in this role. And in fact, that is going to be enough to cause the D push. Blue Squad just gonna have to back off.
And really good patience there from Drexer, waiting to see if Cross or any of the members of Gentle Hearts Gaming actually commit to that dive. At the end of the day, it is not a commit. They simply let, bygones be bygones. It is going to be Snow surviving for the time being, but it does mean Drexer gives over a little bit of CS because he was waiting in the wings in that base. He did miss out on some minions. Now they are going to have to force push this over. And a first blood off the screen. Drexer gonna pick that one up.
Yeah, that is going to be DOG getting off to a solid start up here. And overall, I think that with that dynamic going the way of Dorado Gaming White in a way I wasn't expecting, and combining that with the fact that we got a solo bolo in the mid lane, caught you able to get out from under the tower as well. This is a very different texture to this game, one that DOG could easily build upon, because we were criticizing them for overextension, for overstaying, forcing fights. Well, Quacks, when you're up 2-0 this early on in a game, in many cases, that is perfectly fine. You are the one who wants to initiate fights, and you could be the ones who stay the entire time that the enemy is up there looking to try to fight back.
Really good look here coming out from Dorado Gaming White, getting an early advantage, and I agree with you. Those early advantages could allow them to play aggressively like we saw in game number 1, and this time around they'll have the resources, the gold, and the items to back it up. So this could very well be the start of a train that Gentle Hearts Gaming could not stop. They are now Starting to get a little bit of gold back. There was about a 1,000 gold difference after those innate 2 solo kills, but because the CS numbers have shrunk a little bit, Gentle Hearts have managed to close that gold gap just slightly. So it's not the end of the world, but it certainly does mean that Dorado Gaming White have something on the board that they can play with, which is a lot more than what they had in game number 1.
Well, already, this is going to be a dragon initiated by Red Squad, not something that we saw in game number 1. DOG were held to an 0-4 count on that front. That being said, this is a very aggressive posture by GHG around this neutral objective. Munchie's to about half health. Alistar actually wants to try to take the reset here, and what that means is that this could be a contested drag. The question is, are the rotations going to be enough? It's going to be Kaja with first mover advantage in the mid lane, and so Mikkel, while they're going to try to pepper on shots, is going to get engaged upon. Snow trying to get on the back line. Will find the stun. Bard will magical journey away, and it looks like with the 4-stack there and the ultimate arrow coming on out from the Silas, this is going to be another one picked up by Dorado Gaming White. Now the question is, what can they fire back in response? Jarvan over Invest gets stunned up by the Jhin, and now it's up to Drew on the back line to try to play cleanup crew. But while this is happening, it is Bard going incredibly low under the tower. Munchie with the sweet moves is able to stay away from the Soul Unbound and actually get to safety, and now this is just going to be another one fed straight to the Combine Harvester. GHC are now down 0-5 at the 6-minute mark.
And this is a completely different look here for Dorado Gaming White. They managed to pick up the scraps in that team fight. Initially, Gentle Hearts, they wanted to look to try and stall out that Dragon take, leave room for Cross to intersect over on that top side of the bot river, but they are too late. It's Kachu that steals the Enchanted Crystal Arrow before Mikkel even has access to it, manages to find the Ashe, then Cross is overextended, then Drew is overextended, and all of this is punished. Not only do they get the dragon, but like you said, they are up 5 kills here at the 7-minute mark. Gentle Hearts falling behind fast in this game too.
All right, well, this is going to be an attempt at the Grub started up by GHG, but there may be bigger fish to fry topside of the map. Lawrence has 2 people right on top of them, but Cross has a full health bar, looking to come on in with the head of steam, and finally that's going to be a kill on the board for the side of GHG. Porsche able to get out of danger in time. Lawrence without an ultimate available, just going to try to shove this wave in. In fact, might be in trouble. Stun coming through, but Porsche doesn't want to push any further with the wave pushing in.
And Porsche is just left to the mercy of this Rumble at this point. Does have the flash advantage available, so if he wants to look to get aggressive, that certainly is in the cards, but you have to be mindful of the Rumble heat meter, and you also have to be mindful of Cross in the area now, looking for the dive, but again, that flashes around.
That being said, that's a lot of damage coming through from the Flame Spitter.
The problem is
Munchie is now rotating
into
the area. And that's a lot of tower aggro. Cross unable to find a way to re-engage the shots coming through from the tier 1. And that means that it's a blessing that Lawrence was able to get out alive. Count their lucky stars. That may not happen again, as right now we are still in a position where there's a definitive advantage over to Dorado Gaming White. In fact, we could almost throw the exact same criticisms that we were talking about with DOG over to the side of GHG. That was a massive overstay on the top side and almost led to disaster.
Drew and Munchie are going to be scrapping it out, but look how ahead this Silas is.
No stun available. The Q whiffed from Nazca, and that means the Yone is just going to die, and it could be even worse. Mikkel walks too far forward, and I think we are looking at a triple kill onto this mid laner. Draxler's actually going to be the one to clean it up, trying to spread the wealth around a little bit, and there's plenty to go around too. DOG are currently up over 3,000 gold.
It's a rough time here for GHG. They keep trying to look for picks. They keep trying to look for plays, but Dorado Gaming White are just always there ready to respond. And I agree with you. This is essentially deja vu of game number 1, just on the opposite side. It feels like Gentle Hearts Gaming are constantly going for the overforce, and Dorado Gaming White are there to not only pick up the pieces, but throw them right back in the faces of Gentle Hearts Gaming. And it's a little bit of a desperation play. I will say the one silver lining is that you do have a good front-to-back comp, right? And like you said, in Draft Niarco, very easy to execute. So should they get the ball rolling, it will be easier to slide down that hill, as we are looking at a 1v1 here by the top laners. Porsche committing the ult.
Yep, and is going to try to follow through on this one. Caster minions too far away to actually do any amount of poke damage. Still, he is going to have to just disengage as the tower comes into view. So Lawrence is going to be out again. The bot side of the map, not so lucky already. The bar dead to the curtain call. And Cross is going to come over here in order to depush on the Mikkel, but it's a 3v2. And this is our dire straits right now for GHG. Their game plan has fallen apart early, and there is no sign that DOG is going to feather off the gas pedal whatsoever. Quacks, it feels like this is about their fate for the rest of the game. They need to just try to find a way to turn around in the midst of combat, and there it comes. We're going to see the Cataclysm ultimate dropped by Cross, and that is enough for a consolation prize for GHG. A 1-for-1 this far behind is good for them, but still, they are down 3K.
And double buffs going over to Mikkel as well, picking up that kill to Ashe, finally on a line. And not only do you get that kill, but you also deny the dragon right away here for the side of Dorado Gaming, right? They got that stacking done early, but because of the overextension there from Munchie, it is going to mean Gentle Hearts have an opportunity to bite back some prio, to get ahead here on this bot side river and potentially contest this. It's not a very easy fight, given that we have a 4-0 and 3 Silas and a 4-0 and 2 Jin. But it's at least something for the side of Gentle Hearts. And at this point in the game, you'll take anything you can get your hands on.
100%. What a place of desperation to be at only 11 minutes into this game. We thought that game number 1 was hyper accelerated, but this one could be even worse. Now, in the opposite direction, DOG desperately wants to get to the decisive game number 3. They do not want to give any more chances over to GHG to perhaps turn things back around. That being said, I do think that this is going to be a dragon. Yeah, but at the same time, it's so low already. Even with the priority mid, it seems like Dog are going to be focusing on mostly taking down the Yone. Now, there may be a consolation kill coming in here, even as the Dragons do get split. But honestly, not the end of the world, given how many deaths have already gone over to DOG. Gold gap is going to grow very slightly off of it, though.
And I mean, all the members of Dorado Gaming White are here. They're assembled toward the bot side. They managed to pick up that kill onto Cross yet again. So they punished that dragon being taken, but they aren't able to really accelerate it any further than that. They tried to look for a dive, but they didn't have the wave. And now it's going to be Lawrence picking up a couple of plates on this rumble. But here comes Kachu.
There's so much space for Kachu to play up against Lawrence, who's trying to hold his own, unfortunately. Here comes Droxer as the final nail in the coffin. That is a 5-0-3 Silas at the 12-minute mark. This is beyond fed at this point right now, Quacks. This is a character who can do whatever he so desires across the map. And that was a very lengthy roam up there. Still gold positive for him. You keep that up, and all of a sudden, it feels like GHG aren't playing a 5v5. They're playing, say, a 5v10 or something crazy like that, because everybody can show up anywhere.
It is definitely the advantage of having triple teleport, and Drexer utilizing that advantage beautifully, but all of those teleports expended, all of those members toward the top side means more gold into the pockets of Mikkel. Despite, you know, Dorado Gaming White getting the better of a lot of these trades, you know, getting those kills, they are still getting traded on back, as now Cross is looking to make this 2v2 a 3v2, but Kachu is so strong!
It's really unfortunate. This positionally was a fight that should be going the way of GHG, but it doesn't really matter. Finally, Mikkel able to help land the killing blow alongside Cross due to the Cataclysm, but still, the Alistar wants more. Stun coming out, but somehow Mikkel holds on, and that could be the thing that turns this game on its head. Gold gap closed all of a sudden. GHG have a chance.
And that, just like that, the Dark Seal stacks get split in half, as now Lawrence might be the next thing split in half, but he will flash over the wall, manages to avoid that. And despite being down 8 kills, Gentle Hearts Gaming remain in this match. They remain in this early game. Of all the things, they are the ones, Niarco, that get the first tower here. And that means so much more of the map opens up. It means Nausicaa can keep roaming, and they're going to punish Drexer.
What a great stun coming through from Nausicaa as well. This should be a kill. Good job by Nausicaa taking the tower, and Lawrence will be able to walk out of there. Temper Fate used. I don't think that was super necessary, but regardless, that is a valuable kill. Picking up a shutdown. Drax is going to experience his first death. And look at the goal. It has completely rubber banded back to virtually even at the 14-minute mark.
What a comeback here for Gentle Hearts. They shut down the Silas. They shut down the Alistar, and now they just shut down the Jin. And Dorado Gaming White, they're looking to finally get themselves a turret, namely that mid lane tower. So a lot more map gonna open up for them as well. going to be able to extend that vision line and potentially threaten this Herald that has spawned on up. You can see 3 members of Dorado just looking to try and get the jump, but it's a 3v4 numbers disadvantage, but they like those odds!
That being said, this is huge covering fire coming through from the side of Dorado Gaming White. Drax are able to poke down, and even as we do see the Alistar fall, the turn could be strong enough to bring this right back in favor of Red Squad, as that Silas picking up another kill. Right now, things stand out about even, but Cross wasn't a main engager for the side of Gentle Hearts Gaming, and what that means is that by being down, and also there now being no smite available to GHD, Red Squad could move up and get that Rift Herald.
Yup, and you can see I like this positioning from Nazca, sitting in the fog of war, waiting for his team to go for the engage, and the engage is Drew Dozer!
Oh my god! And I can't believe the turnaround. A bit of a bait there. Dorado Gaming White aren't going to be able to bring the full force upon this fight. Finally, here comes the fire right back. Kachu firing off a stolen ultimate, but Drew is on the periphery of this one. Finds the Q slide forward to pick up the kill, but now he's stuck in a dicey 2v1. Jarvan tried to come to help, but these are 2 people with immense health bars. I don't know if Cross can do enough, particularly as the Jax just picked up the double-double, and now you're once again right back in a 2v1 for the side of GHG. Cross with nothing to do is trying to get his cooldowns back up, but that's just gonna feed a triple kill over to the only laner that wasn't Giga fed on the side of Dorado Gaming White.
And it's Porsche coming up big. He's 4-0-1, and with the help of Stone 2, he is rampaging through this mid-game. He's going to try to get this wave pushed on in. It is going to be Nasuku, just a thorn in his side, just a little bug on his windshield, but that's all he is. Does a little bit of damage, but the Jax stands tall. Porsche, the top lane god of the tier 3 ecosystem, stands tall. And he is looking to take his team to a game number 3, and now Drew is in trouble.
Yep, Soul Unbound activated, but he's going to come back right in time for the stun to come out of the side of Snow. Unfortunately, he's got a second dash. Forgot about that. Yone is a terrible champion that should be removed from the game. I just forgot that fact exists. But regardless, now he's actually just going to harass Snow and prevent the reset from coming through. Draxler knows he can't do a lot because, like I said, it's a Yone. This champion's a war prime. In fact, may be able to pick up the kill here. Teleport being committed. They want all of this. Draxler taken down early. Snow's completely irrelevant in this one. So it's all up to Kacho on the back. He's trying to stabilize as Porsche is shut down. Here comes Munchie to follow through.
Mikhail's on the backside.
But Lawrence has picked up the kill on the Snow. And now Endeavor Fate allows for the reset. They down with the full health bar under the tower is going to obliterate the side of Dorado Gaming White.
An early game be damned. Dorado Gaming White, they thought they had it, but Gentle Hearts Gaming are breaking the hearts of Dorado Gaming. A big team fight win, an ace for Gentle Hearts. And they're going to push down this top lane. They will take the Herald. The Dragon is also up. All of the resources are ripe for the taking. And Gentle Hearts, they want to clean this one up. They want a clean 2-0. And they're fighting tooth, claw, spear, and sword to get there, Nyarko.
God, I hate Yone so freaking much, man. What a garbage design for a character. Like, here's the thing is, I am usually incredibly, like, value positive on League of Legends balance, design, things like that. I never complain. I think that, frankly, the people who make League are geniuses. Yone is the one exception. He extended that exchange topside for so long that the entirety of GHG were able to rotate up in a 2v1. He makes sure that Snow has no ability to go in for a headbutt pulverize and make that fight something that Dog had a snowball chance in hell of winning. And now look at this. Even as the Dragon goes down, you look at the board, the kills are almost back to even. The gold has actually gone over to Blue Squad, and I think scaling is on their side because, once again, Yone is somehow even better late game than he is early.
I agree with you on the scaling front. It really feels like, especially with the pieces you've drafted around your scaling counterparts, right? The Yone and the Rumble are the 2 big carries of this game, and they've got so much utility, right? And we saw it in that last team fight. The slows, the stuns from Ashe, all of the knockups and CC from Jarvan, and now the Tempered Fate is going to be another thing that might spell doom for Snow, but he flashes out. And all of these pick tools are just a huge thorn in the side of Dorado Gaming White.
This is still a fight that Blue Squad want to take. Silence not available for this one, and it's divide and conquer. Listen, to feed the double-double over to Lawrencey. This is going to be enough to take the tier 1 and perhaps the whole damn enemy team. Silence finally here, but it's too little too late as it is a 3v5 under the tier 1. Still in a lot of trouble, trying to make it back towards the base. Will be able to do so, but the Rift Herald is dropped. They're going to get the double charge. They may get the double turret. They may take this whole damn game.
Yep, they're on a road to go for the 2-0. You thought that Dorado Gaming White had it in the bag, but one big team fight, one little slip up, and suddenly Gentle Hearts Gaming, they're in command of this gold lead, they're in command of this game, and they want to be in command of this series here in the ASCL GHG, an organization that is just looking for that last hurrah, that last little war cry, and they are shouting to the wind, they're shouting to Dorado Gaming White, but Dorado Gaming White are shouting back.
That being said, Mikhail getting called out early in this one could be a disaster. Luckily, Flash still available, has to be burned early in this, and I think that now you want the reset for this ADC of GHG side, so this is probably not going to be a fight unless Dorado Gaming forces something crazy. They're actually sending their eyes towards the top side here, looking to stabilize. Drew able to teleport in onto this tier 1 at the last little moment.
This?
Cross gonna come back through. Soul Unbound gonna get him away from the Counter-Strike for the time being. Multiple teleports now being invested. Ash not out of the base just yet. No ultimate available for them.
Ooh.
I think Yone's gonna go down early in this one too, Kachu. And in fact, with the stun going down on the Cross coming through from Munchie, that could be enough to bring this right back into the fray for DOG. As now that's 2 members gone. Here comes the Temper Fate under the tower. They have to pulverize, and look at how things turn once again. DOG going to tear through 4 members of GHG, and now they're looking for the final nail in the coffin. The Baron is all theirs.
And it's an ace yet again here for Dorado Gaming White. The moment Gentle Hearts get themselves a 5-0, Dorado do the exact same thing. Anything you can do, I can do greater. Dorado marching toward the Baron. They want to wear the purple banner. They want to take us to game 3. In game number 1, it was all Gentle Hearts, but game number 2, this is a full-on brawl, Nyarko.
And this just comes down to a very small miscalculation. First, it's Mikhail having to flash away from that fight, having to take the reset. No ultimate available for the Ashe. And while that's happening, Drew decides to make the call to teleport to the top tier 1. And you know that Dog are going to go up there to at least establish a vision line to favor Baron. So there are multiple members there. And unfortunately, the fight prolonging potential of Yone doesn't pay off when Mikhail, one of the least mobile characters on GHG side, has to make a long trek up the top side in order to make that an even battle. So by the time that they had made their way up, the cards had already fallen in favor of DOG, and now they have the Baron Nashor. That could be enough to put this away.
Yep. It's something we haven't mentioned is the side lane threat, but now the threat of a team fight is very real. Munchie overextended again. No teammates to save him. He just goes down. It's a pick for Gentle Hearts, and they want more than just that.
Man? Yeah, I guess that they don't want the Baron Nashor buff. My bad, guys. This is going to be the end. Whatsoever. Silence is not here to try to turn this fight around. It's just going to be a 4-0 if Dorado Gaming White can't get Porsche out, which they will, but at the same time, this is probably an inhibitor to the team without the Baron buff. And look at the gold. It's once again right back towards even.
And it is going to have to be Kachu going for the reset. You have to keep in mind, Lawrence has the teleport available, and it's also a Bard, so this can very easily turn into a 3v5, but a 3v2 is likely all we are going to get. Gentle Hearts, they do some damage to the tower in the mid lane of Dorado Gaming White, but that's all it's going to be. The Baron, the eyes are on the Baron. It's the prize for both of these squads. This would be sole point for Dorado Gaming White. This would put them in such a big advantage in terms of tempo, in terms of late game advantages. And it feels like they're going to get that. Gentle Hearts are now just channeling their resets. Porsche is actually going to stop Nausicaa's, so they've got this side of the map completely covered. I think it's just going to have to be Gentle Hearts giving it.
Lawrence walking really far forward here. Has to think their lucky stars they aren't hit by the Sejuani ult, but here comes the follow through from Draxler. And it seems to just be mutual throwing for either side, you know? GHG wins a fight, DOG wins a fight. And in fact, with the Baron Nashor buff still available, I think this is going to be the most backbreaking one we've seen so far. That's 2 people picked off. Nobody really there to be able to hold this inhibitor. And in fact, they want to try to move on
they're going to look
the
to the
Nexus
end.
turret. The only blessing here is that there's no way. In fact, I feel like this Tempered Fate may be a bad call, as these caster minions are going to stay sustained, as we're going to see Red Squad still look for the engage. Another wave going to come their way. Looks like with the low health bars, though, in the poke game at hand, they don't want to force this anymore.
And it's Dorado Gaming White. They were looking for the end. Gentle Hearts, they managed to hold onto it by the skin of their teeth. Nausicaa, yeah, a little bit of an interesting Tempered Fate, but it does the job at the end of the day. They are still in this one, but they are not in the pit. They are not even in contention to go for this dragon. They are now behind here in this game. And for a second there, I actually thought Cross was going to look for the steal, but no steal going to come on through. Soul point unlocked for Dorado Gaming White. Now, the next objective going to be that Baron spawning in a little less than 3 minutes. Gentle Hearts Gaming, this is their time to do what they do best. Look for a pick, turn it around, and potentially contest that objective. Because as it stands, if you cannot find a pick, if you cannot find an advantage in the next couple of minutes, you are staring down at a defeat screen for your future.
One big thing to note here for Dorado Gaming White is that while I do think ultimately they get outscaled, one of the big scalers on the side of GHG has been kind of rendered not irrelevant, as their virtue as being a broken champion is helping them a lot, but this Yone is 1-5, and that's got to count for something. Meanwhile, Porsche is at 6-1, and this Jax is going to be the focal point of the late game for Red Squad side. Being already unlocked in this way, having the initiation potential brought to your side by Silas stealing away core ultimates means that this is very easily a two-man all-star band that Dorado Gaming White can use to pick up the game. So as long as they play judiciously, as long as they are able to keep Drew from getting up in score, I think that this is still one that Dorado Gaming can walk away with, especially if a fight goes their way in the next, say, 3-4 minutes, because at that point, you still have that big threat of waves continuously pushing from red side over to blue side without much in the way of being able to be answered because that inhibitor is down.
That inhibitor is going to just provide them so much more room in the game to play with as well. Dorado Gaming White, they don't have to worry really about taking a fight on uneven terms at this point. They don't have to worry about getting picked, potentially death pushed by Gentle Hearts, because all of the members of Gentle Hearts have to respond to that until Porsche maybe walks up a little too far.
Mikael's ult is going to go several miles wide, and that is going to be the one saving grace. In fact, Gentle Hearts Gaming may be re-engaged upon. That's going to be a Tempered Fate, but this is going to consign, I believe, this Rumble to having to play very far back in this fight. Stolen Bard ultimate of all things from Kachu here. Not going to do a whole lot. And in fact, this is a health bar advantage. Here comes Drew on the flank, and that is going to be Snow flashing back over this far side wall. Cross needs to go in, use the rest of his health bar. Here comes the oh man, knock up with the Tempered Fate as well. Now it's a split fight, a triple kill out of nowhere for Lawrence, as this could be Nausicaa going over the far side wall, guiding Kachu in. Cross coming back through, gets the dash, and that's gonna be enough for another ace. A fight for nothing. How in the world, Quacks?
And it's back and forth, up and down, left and right. This game, Diarco, has no sense of direction, but Gentle Hearts, they know where they have to go next. Their direction is straight to the Baron. 4 members strong. You can see Lawrence is in that bot side. He's going to push that down. And oh my god, are you not entertained?
No real teleport abilities, I don't think. Like, you're going to get Porsche up in time,
Porsche and
but
both have them.
You can't go to that.
There.
Yeah, it's scary though, for sure. Still 11 seconds available on the Silas, and there's the Smite taking this one away. Gold advantage now over to the side of GHG. I just feel as if this is utter desperation for one team and the other. And I'm actually going to dispute you a little bit, Quacks. He said, you don't know what direction this game is going. It is a pendulum, my man. One way, then the other. One way, then the other. On repeat. I think at this rate, Dorado Gaming White going to win a fight here, take away the Baron buffs, and we're right back to even, man.
I think Zol is the one that's going to have a heart attack. He has the most direction out of all of us, the owner of Dorado Gaming White. That heart rate is going straight up. That has the most sense of direction here so far in this series. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It has been a pendulum. Suddenly, you know, Dorado Gaming White, they went from having the Baron sieging that inhibitor to now the Baron is in the hands of Gentle Hearts, and now Dorado White want this game back. You can see Kachu is just marching on forward. One fight, we say it every time, one fight could determine it all. But now I think we mean it. The Baron is up, or the Dragon is up in 45 seconds here in Niarco. This would be soul and a game-ending play, a game-ending objective for Dorado Gaming White, but they don't have the Nasher, they don't have the push, they don't have the numbers because Porsche is in the top side. So Gentle Hearts, they're going to use that. They're going to clear out this entire jungle, and they're going to try to look for this Dragon.
That was Temper Fate going wide from the side of Nausicaa. That is going to be a tool down for a little bit. Notably, Silas is stealing that away again. That could buy the time necessary for Porsche to teleport into something and make this an even fight. So GHD, if they're not running that calculus right now, could be towing a dangerous line, particularly as they want to try to set their sights upon a dragon that Vision for Dorado Gaming White will catch them out on.
And it is actually going to be Drew kind of caught in the crossfire. He has to be careful about not getting picked. He wants to stop the push from the members of Dorado Gaming White. That Dragon, an afterthought, gets completely one-shot, but on the other side, Porsche is going to manage to shove in that top side of the map. The rest of Dorado Gaming White, they're going to shove in mid, so the tempo is there. Porsche.
2 ultimates, 3 ultimates submitted. Porsche picked, but at what cost is the question? It looks like Gentle Hearts Gaming are not to be trifled with. Dorado Gaming White gonna respect this pick and just back off, even as we see 3 ults go down.
That was the Avengers level combo coming out here from Gentle Hearts Gaming. Poor Porsche, man. He didn't get an extended warranty on that car, and it gets completely totaled. The Jack's going to be sent back to the fountain. Another 30 seconds. So now this is a timer that Gentle Hearts have the ability to play on. You can see all of the lanes are being pushed, and they are expertly going for a 1-3-1. They're going to try and catch some members potentially on the flank. That's why they're setting down these wards. But this is the time with the numbers advantage to try and get something done.
Yep, big shove on the top side with the dregs of the Baron Nashor buff. Tier 2 probably going to go down here, but we are seeing
Baron
come back up in time to perhaps bring this back with a wave at their back. Actually, Dorado Gaming White are going to be able to hold this tier for at least another shove in, but it is on basically tissue paper now. Porsche gonna instead go to the bot side. The teleports are all available for the 3 carries of Dorado Gaming.
Here we go!
These fights are dangerous. Firing on from the back line. Draxler opens up in a big way in favor of Red Squad, as that is already going to be not gonna take it down. But Drew is an absolute monster. This Yone is looking to end the game here and now. Porsche with the counter strike, trying to do their best to bring himself back, but crosses on the flank. Draxler will walk away, but they are the only one up, and they have a whole hoop to dodge riding on them, as now this is a siege onto the tier 3.
And it's 4 members alive, and that entire fight we were talking about the ultimates, but Mikhail, the arrows were going wide. They were hitting their targets. All of the members of Dorado Gaming White now are down, except Drexler. Can he be the savior here of game number 2? The wave is coming on in, and I don't think they can do it. I think Gentle Hearts have turned it around.
Yep, Draxler finally going to be Axis, and that is Snow not up in time. That's going to be a 2-0. Gentle Hearts Gaming are going to catapult Dorado Gaming White in the standings.
What a game number 2. The comeback from Gentle Hearts Gaming. Their death was greatly exaggerated here in this second game, but they come right back up. They strike the ground like lightning. And all of Dorado Gaming White, they're seeing white from here on out. That was such a blinding level of play in that later game. It really just felt like all of a sudden, somehow Gentle Hearts, you know, from up and down and left and right, they managed to get the comeback. Then the comeback is lost. Then they come back again. The comeback is lost a second time. And then they do it yet again. And finally, third time is the charm. They managed to secure the 2-0. And I gotta say, this is a monumental win for Gentle Hearts for the standings, because Dorado Gaming White were a 3-1 team, and now Gentle Hearts, not only are they a 3-2 tier team along with Dorado, but they win the head-to-head. So this is a top 4 team now. We see it now, Niarco. They are technically in playoffs contention.
I think that GHD are deserving of it, man. I was telling you for the cast. They are a consistent team. Now, I gotta say that last game was not showing their strengths, but also at the same time, it was showing Dorado Gaming's weaknesses, and apparently that was enough for the 2-0 to be had. I
Yeah.
think that this team can go far. At the very least, they are playing as these gatekeepers, these bastions of right there down the middle, and they're calling out teams like Dorado Gaming White, who maybe have had it a little bit too easy up until this point. So I'm very, very excited to continue to
Yeah.
track these two teams and their trajectory throughout the rest of this regular season. But as it's currently looking, I'm going to call it. I think GHG is making those playoffs.
For sure. I mean, I kind of have my doubts about this squad going into this series, but after the 2-0, I would say game two less convincing than game number one. I think we can both agree on that one.
Yeah,
You
you're
know, who
seeing
could
a
have guessed? But
you're seeing a blinding level of play. I like it was blinding in that I wanted to rip my eyes out, man. Like neither of these teams deserve the dub in a way, but it is Dorado Gaming White who threw slightly harder. I really think that if we got to a game three and both of these teams calmed down and adapted a little bit, we could have seen radically different sides from both of them. And
yes.
so don't count Dorado Gaming White out just yet, but they were on something wild tonight, man. Both of those games were
Yeah.
defined by over pushes up the wazoo.
Not only over pushes, but just overextensions in general. I mean, we saw it from both teams in game number two. They bit off way more than they could chew, and then their teeth got broken in because of it. So, you know, it took a bit of time for them to regrow back and finally, you know, chew on over, get themselves to the meaty chunk of a 2-0. But it was overall a very fun series. I think is
Oh
definitely what
yeah.
we can label this one. And I'm interested to see where Gentle Hearts go in the future. If they can continue this level of play, then I certainly think this is a team that makes playoffs. You know, even if it is on the fourth seed of Piltover, they showed way more strengths than they did weaknesses. If they can clean those weaknesses up, we are definitely looking at a team that we can expect going into December with those playoffs.
Yeah, perhaps pull up the upsets there as well. They started that story early here with the matchup versus Dorado Gaming White. But Quacks, that is going to bring us to an end for the night. It's been an honor being back on TSM after
It's
so
been an honor
long.
having you, man.
Absolutely. And what a great series to cast as well. It was like 25% as fun as your average game of Deadlock, and that's basically all I'm hoping for. But it's about
Yeah,
time that we depart. I'm going to go play the Superior MOBA game. I will see you guys around later,
respect.
perhaps back on TSM at some point. But for right now, Quacks, I know that the podcast that this whole production is in great hands between you as well as Chippy chipping on in, getting the production done on the backside of this one. Congratulations to them for a really fantastically well run production here. But that is it for everybody. Everybody, have a good night.